The following program, The Russ Belville Show, is intended for responsible adults only. We advocate to the repeal of marijuana prohibition for adults. We discuss the science, culture, and controversy about America's marijuana laws. We do not advocate any illegal activity and encourage all listeners to learn their state and federal marijuana laws. Opinions and claims made by guests and advertisers on The Russ Belville Show are their own, and The Russ Belville Show cannot be held legally responsible for their validity or reliability. Viewer discretion is advised.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth. Hey!
Spanning the continent to bring you the truth about cannabis and marijuana law reform.
I smoke pot and I like it a lot.
From the promise of legalization.
And I think that we need to rethink and decriminalize our marijuana laws.
To the agony of prohibition.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
The Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Yeah, I hear you had a question for me.
Now, here's your host, Radical Russ Belville.
We love it.
All right, good day, tokers and tokettes, and welcome to the show. It is Wednesday, May 7th, 2014, and it's got to be 420 somewhere in the world. Thanks for joining us on what is today officially my 9th anniversary in marijuana law reform. That's right. 9 years I've been doing this. I went to the Global Marijuana March on May 7th, 2005. That's where I met Madeline Martinez and Anna Diaz and all the fine people with Oregon NORML, and things just cascaded from there. Next thing you know, I'm sitting here reading and talking and researching about marijuana damn near 24 hours a day. Thank you for being a part of that, and thank you for joining us here at 420radio.org. On today's show, we've got a live guest in studio today to talk with us, Lindsey Rinehart from the Undergreen Railroad, also a perf for a oomph. We'll talk about that, what those things mean, all the alphabet soup of acronyms out here in Oregon. And we're going to talk about the subject of medical marijuana moratoriums. We just passed our dispensary law, but now all these cities are trying to put together bans, temporary bans on medical marijuana dispensaries. We'll talk about how that is going to hurt patients and just hurt the state of Oregon in the long run. Also on today's show, at the end of the show, time for a radical rant. And today, I want to talk about how the THC that gets you high is medical marijuana. We're hearing all about these CBD only bills that are passing from state to state to state. And I want to tell you why that's not necessarily a good thing for the medical marijuana movement, and why we need to start defending getting high. And behind the headlines today, oh my God, I saw this come across the news desk today. It was an in-depth report from 7 News in Denver. You know, in Denver, they've been having all these, or in Colorado, they've been having this issue about medibles and, you know, people ingesting too much of them and the worry about kids getting into them. So 7 News in Denver decided to conduct an experiment to see if kids could tell the difference between a medibal and a non-medicated treat of the same variety. But the way they did it was, well, it was kind of apples and oranges, to mix a metaphor. We'll talk about that in Behind the Headlines. Also on the show today, Gordon Green's going to be calling in. He's got some great world music today for us from Dan Reeder. We'll get to that at 20 after. And right after this first break, our 420 radio news. In the headlines today, a Washington family's facing 40 years in federal prison for their medical marijuana grow. The Minnesota Senate has moved forward with medical marijuana that the cops don't like that much. The Illinois legislature is jumping on the CBD only bandwagon. The world's largest marijuana production facility is opening up in Canada, and plenty more when we come back on The Russ Belville Show.
The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
I'm Radical Russ Belville, and I want to thank you for listening to 420 Radio. We couldn't survive without you and our sponsors, and I'd like you to check out one of our prime sponsors, the National Cannabis Coalition.
I've been working with NCC since June of 2012, and I'm proud to be part of the team they have assembled. National Cannabis Coalition is building the partnerships with reformers, lawmakers, and industry we need to be successful. Visit the National Cannabis Coalition website at nationalcannabiscoalition.com or the easier-to-remember ncc420.com. That's where you'll get the exclusive first look at my radical rants, as well as informative articles from the nation's top cannabis pundits. Visit ncc420.com today, and if you have your phone handy, text Russ to 420-420 to support NCC and 420 Radio. It's a free text message that helps us help you end adult marijuana prohibition. Learn more at ncc420.com, and thanks for supporting independent marijuana legalization public radio. You can get 420 Radio on the go with the Ustream video app for Android and iPhone. Go to rad-r.us/420Ustream or just click the Ustream app icon for Android or iPhone below the live radio feed at 420radio.org. The law offices of Omar Figueroa would like to remind you to stand up for your rights. Please do not give up your precious liberties. There's nothing wrong with standing up for our constitutional rights, and in fact, it's the best way to honor the Constitution that recognizes our natural rights. Treat law enforcement with respect and respect the Constitution by standing up for your rights. If you are detained or arrested, stand up for your rights by repeating, "I respectfully invoke all of my legal and constitutional rights. I do not consent to any search and seizure. I want to remain silent, and I want to speak with my attorney, Omar Figueroa." Omar Figueroa has more than a decade of experience in federal and California courts and graduated from Yale University, Stanford Law School, and Trial Lawyers College. Please contact the law offices of Omar Figueroa at 415-489-0420 or 707-829-0215 or on the web at omarfigueroa.com.
This is your 420 Radio News for Wednesday, May 7th, 2014. I'm Russ Belville. Forget the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, says Washington State Coordinator for Americans for Safe Access's Carrie Boyder. In a federal trial that could send a family to prison for decades on charges of 6 felonies each relating to their medical marijuana grow site near the Washington-Canada border, U.S. District Judge Fred Van Sickle rejected the family's argument that they had been following Washington's medical marijuana law to the letter, saying, quote, "The intent of the defendants is not relevant to the issues. There's this concept of reliance on state law and the like. That's not relevant either," end quote, leading Boyder to explain that since marijuana is federally illegal, quote, "you can tell a portion of the truth, just a bit of the truth, and only the truth they want you to tell," end quote. The family members all rejected plea deals that would have given them 3 years in prison each. They now face a potential 40 years to life in prison. The Minnesota Senate has passed its version of a medical marijuana bill by a veto-proof 48-18 majority. The proposed medical marijuana law would be the first in the country to ban the smoking of medical marijuana, but is still tremendously opposed by the Minnesota Police and Peace Officers Association. Among the law enforcement complaints about the Senate version is the creation of 55 grow and distribution centers statewide and the allowance of 2.5 ounces of raw marijuana per patient. Law enforcement prefers the House version, which limits the state to 1 grow site and dispensary, possession of only cannabis pills or oils, and in addition to banning smoking marijuana, would only allow vaporization of marijuana in the presence of a medical professional. Minnesota Governor Mark Dayton has walked back a bit from his lockstep opposition with law enforcement, saying law enforcement's opinion was only one consideration he has in evaluating the bill. Illinois' legislature is moving quickly to allow children with severe epilepsy to access the state's new medical marijuana program. The House Human Services Committee unanimously approved the bill that would add epilepsy to the state's qualifying condition list and allow minors to have access to the program. The bill passed the Senate last month over the objections of some who worried about children getting high from the THC in marijuana. But Representative Lou Lang, sponsor of the measure, said the measure would only allow children to use cannabidiol oil that, quote, contains little to no THC, end quote. We did not find any such limitations in the most recent posting of the bill. However, the bill does limit patients under age 18 to the purchase of marijuana-infused products, such as edibles, tinctures, and oils, and forbids them from the possession of 2.5 ounces of usable marijuana allowed for adult patients. The world's largest legal marijuana facility is to open in Ontario, Canada. This from the New York Post. Finding that sketchy guy for a bag of weed in Washington Square Park could soon be as outdated as milking your own cow. Pot production is about to go industrial. Of course, you'll have to head to Canada to take advantage of it. Sen Biotech, a nutrition company best known for an amino acid supplement, is working on opening the largest and most advanced legal marijuana production facility in the world. The Ontario site will be able to grow 1.3 million pounds of pot from 50,000 plants, an operation that could produce $5 billion in sales per year when it starts producing in a few weeks after it passes government inspections. No more hiding grow lamps in closets. This $20 million facility will churn out pot like other factories churn out aspirin, and it has plans to expand to the U.S. The factory, which will house 50 different strains of cannabis, is legal thanks to the recently changed medical marijuana laws in Canada that ended home growth of pot plants and required users to buy them from large-scale commercial facilities being set up around the country. The demand for medical pot in Canada created a backlog that led to the creation of these new super grow sites. Colorado Cannabis Summit is the latest pot exhibition coming to Denver. This will be happening on May 22nd at the Exto Events Center starting at 8 a.m. Mountain Time. Stan Wagner, the event CEO and head of Red Thread Creative Group, explained it this way. Quote, back in January, I was having lunch with my business partner, Phil Walker, who's with Foothills Construction. We'd been doing some branding work with cannabis companies that were doing some build-outs, and we were hearing that there wasn't a lot of good information out there. There have been a number of conferences built on business-to-consumer type products, but we felt there was a need for a business-to-business event. It's not just about grow houses, but everything that goes into them, he continues. Construction, manufacturing of the products, packaging, all that jazz, end quote. This has been your 420 Radio News for Wednesday, May 7th, 2014. I'm Russ Belville. Transcripts of 420 Radio News are available at our website at 420radio.org. When we come back, we'll go behind the headlines and take a look at 7 News Denver, the news station that recently performed an experiment on children's ability to detect the difference between medicated edibles and regular candy treats. Their shoddy lack of experimental controls will shock and amaze you. You're listening to The Russ Belville Show on 420radio.org. We'll be right back.
Cannabis Outreach Collective is an alternative health and wellness option located in Gladstone, Oregon, that serves patients in the Portland area and beyond. We are a full-service alternative health and wellness collective accommodating patients with natural, organic, holistic, and homeopathic remedies, nutritional guidance, advice, education, and medical cannabis, fully in accordance with Oregon OMMP law. You can find out more about Cannabis Outreach Collective on Facebook at COC503 or by emailing cannabisoutreachcollective503@gmail.com or by telephone at 503-853-1319. Check out our menu on Weed Maps and visit Cannabis Outreach Collective today.
Marijuana, do you wanna? Mary, do you wanna tonight?
As marijuana goes mainstream, you need to be armed with the facts. Nobody can teach you better than Dr. Mitch Earlywine, Ph.D. You may know Dr. Mitch from his column in High Times magazine or his weekly appearance on The Russ Belville Show. Dr. Mitch is also the author of some of the best books on marijuana science, culture, history, and health, including Understanding Marijuana, Parents' Guide to Marijuana, Pot Politics, and more. Visit Amazon.com and search for Mitch Earlywine, that's EARLEYWINE, and order your books today. You can also contact Dr. Mitch by email at 420research@gmail.com. The new Viper Hour every Monday at 5 and 8 Pacific on 420radio.org.
Welcome back, everybody. 15 after the hour and time for us to go behind the headlines. And today, I want to give you a look at a report that's coming out of 7 News in Denver. And I'm just going to put this in the bottom right corner of the screen. We're not going to put the sound up on this. You really don't need the sound, but I'll just give you a look at it. And you can see on the screen, you got a reporter there showing a couple of cookies. There's like 2 cookies on one side, 1 cookie on the other side, some gummy treats that they're pouring out, some Tootsie Rolls. Basically, what's going on here is that they're conducting this experiment because they've had all these shocking stories about people eating too many edibles or kids getting a hold of these medicated edibles. And of course, the legislature now is looking at labeling requirements and packaging and you know, how much potency can they be, etc. So 7 News here decided to do this experiment where they bring in a bunch of little kids. Now, the kids were never in danger. They weren't allowed to touch anything. And their parents were there watching, right? So basically what happened here is they took, for example, Dixie Chews, which are like a Tootsie Roll kind of thing. And they took them out of the wrapper and then put them alongside Tootsie Rolls that were out of the wrapper and asked the kids to pick. Here they're showing a kid picking between cookies where there's 2 cookies that are open and then 2 cookies that are in a clear plastic wrap, right? They also did this with gummy treats. Yeah, there's the Dixie Chews, right? And they did it with Tootsie Rolls. They did it with gummy treats as well. And one of the points that they wanted to make is that the kids couldn't tell the difference between the medicated treats. Here they show the shocked moms, you know, watching it. Kids couldn't tell the difference between the medicated treats and the non-medicated treats outside of their wrappers. They specifically, even in the news report, talk about how they took the gummies out of the child-proof bottle that they come in. Then, further on in the story, they go to talk about how when kids were presented with a wine bottle or a prescription pill bottle, they clearly knew that those were for adults, those are for adults only, and they're not supposed to touch them. Well, gee, how about you take the wine out of the bottle, pour it in a sippy cup, and put it alongside a sippy cup with some Kool-Aid, some red Kool-Aid. Then ask the kids to tell which one is the difference. They said they had a prescription pill bottle. All right, let's take the prescription pills out of the bottle and let's put them alongside some Tic Tacs that are outside of the bottle and see which ones the kids happen to pick up. This is such an apples and oranges comparison here, trying to demonize the use of medicated edibles and trying to spread this meme that for some reason adults that might want to use cannabis for recreational or medical purposes shouldn't be getting it in candy form, shouldn't be getting it in a cookie form or a brownie form because, oh, what about the children? One of the parents in here had a quote that was something along the lines of, why do they have to make it the same? Because adults like candy too. Adults like cookies too. And we in the industry are completely supportive of things like opaque packaging and childproof bottles and big warning labels on the packages that explain that this is a medicated thing. We're all for that. But they want to toss that aside, right? We're just going to take it out of the bottle and have the kids compare this. This is not good journalism. This is junk journalism. It's a hit piece to try to sway the public opinion as the legislature is trying to decide on what they're going to do with marijuana edibles and infused products and how they're going to be treated in that state. And furthermore, to try to set the agenda for what will happen in the future states that will inevitably choose marijuana legalization. Hey, I know how we could solve the whole thing, folks. I got it. Every medicated edible has to look, smell, and taste like Brussels sprouts. That'll solve it. No kid likes Brussels sprouts. That's all we got to do. Anything medicated has to be Brussels sprouts from now on. But if we're going to do that, then we better get rid of the chewable gummy medications that we're starting to see, right? We're starting to see these little gummy antacids and gummy vitamins that are for adults only. But, you know, the kids might think that's might mistake that for a gummy bear. And you know, cough syrups. We got cough syrups in the stores that they have dextromethorphan in them, and why they look cherry. They look like a cherry Kool-Aid. We better get rid of that too. We better just make all medicines taste awful, look awful, and smell awful, just in case some kid might mistake it for something that's tasty. I don't know about you, but I don't want to live in Nerf world. And I believe through proper education and labeling of these things and getting parents to understand their responsibility to put them out of kids' reach will do much better than trying to ban them, which is only going to lead to the underground production of them because people will still want them. And now you're not solving any of the problems. And they're definitely not going to be labeled and regulated if they're made underground.
Oh, have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. Have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. If he said he swam to China, he would sell you South Carolina. Then you know you're talking to that reefer man.
You know Herb Thrasher from the Herb Thrasher Flower Hour. Now get ready for Herb Age Designs for the proud cannabis consumer. Herb Age Designs, lifestyle gear for the 420 friendly. Herb Age Designs, home of the famous lighter leash. Herb Age Designs, get your Herb Age t-shirts and hoodies and show your pride. Herb Age Designs, we've got frisbee golf discs and durable hemp gear. Herb Age Designs, we've got shot glasses, drinking glasses, coffee mugs, and beer cozies. Check us out on Facebook and online at herbagedesigns.com and follow Herb Age and Herb Thrasher on Twitter. We'll see you at this year's Hemp Fest. Crank it up!
Support the Russ Belville Show. Text the word Russ to 420-420 and connect with the National Cannabis Coalition. You can also send $10 to the Russ Belville Show right from your smartphone. That's Russ to 420-420. You're listening to Radical Russ on the Russ Belville Show.
Hey, how's it going? My name's Will. I don't work at a used record store. I don't own an iguana, although I'm sure they make great pets. I don't have dreadlocks or play the acoustic guitar. I can remember quite well, thank you, and no, I don't constantly have the munchies. When 420 comes around, I've still got 40 minutes of work left. I've never hit a girl on a bike with my car or shot my friend with a shotgun. I've never had to apologize for letting a girl I was watching drown in a pool while I was getting high because, duh, I wouldn't be getting high if I was around children. I'm a regular guy who works regular jobs, just like the majority of all Americans who use marijuana occasionally and responsibly. My name is Will, and I'm normal.
Everyone knows music and marijuana go together, so let's wind up our 20 after break with the Russ Belville Show's Daily Toker Tunes, the best in pod-safe 420 music from around the web. Today is Irie Wednesday, featuring reggae, ska, and other world music genres. Now, sit back and enjoy your Daily Toker Tunes.
Welcome back, everybody. Approaching 24 after the hour. We've got Gordon Green on the line with us. How you doing, Gordon?
Doing well, Russ. How about yourself?
I'm having a fantastic day. Got to walk the dog, listen to some good tunes. I heard some music planted on the earlier replay times, which are now 5 a.m., 8 a.m., and 5 p.m. Pacific on Wednesdays, as well as weekends, Saturdays and Sundays at, I believe, 1 a.m. and 1 p.m. So got more replays of the Music Planet. I'm really enjoying it.
That's right. And today on the new show is going to be next week. I think we're starting right away on Wednesday. Tonight, the new show is at 8 o'clock Pacific, and I've got music from Spain, from Brazil, got some Kamani Marley, and lots of good stuff. Look forward to.
Yeah, we played some Kaimani Marley on the show before. Always appreciate any Marleys that we can play on the show. And of course, Gordon Green's Music Planet is an eclectic mix of just a whole lot of genres. I heard somebody was mentioning they heard some good flamenco on your show one of these other days.
That's right. And one thing I want to get away from on that is the term world music is really not a correct term. A lot of these groups are legends in their own countries, and they have their own cultures, their own languages, just as different as British and American. So I'm going to start trying to refer to it as to what it really is, which is music from around the world. Yeah. And if you've heard my show, you know that I often toss in a song from an American artist or something in English, and all music has something to say.
I dig it, man. That's awesome. Well, let's talk about today's tune from Dan Reeder.
Yeah, Dan Reeder. Funny thing, my brother turned me on to Dan Reeder. He is a folk singer, American-born folk singer and songwriter who met a very attractive German woman while he was in college in Southern California. They got married, moved back to Germany, and he has some great covers. He has some great original music. Most of his music is original. My brother covered one of his tunes and put it on YouTube, and YouTube yanked it off for rights violation. But 3 days later, Dan Reeder sent him an email telling them to put that video back on.
That's great.
And, this is the song. It's called Havana Burning, and it's a great little ditty. Hope you guys like it.
If I had a pistol, I could join a revolution just like Che. Imagine me hunkered down low in the sugar cane, watching Havana burning. Boom, bum, dum, bum, bum, dum, tick, dum, dum, bum, 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 bum. Dum, 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 fa, dum, bum, ba, ba, dum, bum. They might say, listen here, we got no soap and we got no beer. We fight for the truth, and the truth is clear. I say, who you gotta know to get a gun around here? I wanna see Havana burning. And if they let me join in, me and Che would be the best of friends. We'd wait for the day someone to say, put on your camouflage vest and your black beret, and let's go watch Havana burning. Had a pistol, I could join a revolution just like Che. Imagine me hunkered down low in the sugar cane, watching Havana burning.
Support the Russ Belville Show. Text the word Russ to 420-420 and connect with the National Cannabis Coalition. You can also send $10 to the Russ Belville Show right from your smartphone. That's Russ to 420-420.
Frightened by the sound, oh, take me by the hand and lead me up to higher ground.
You're listening to Radical Russ on the Russ Belville Show.
Georgia. Hi, this is Willie Nelson, and I need your help. Alcohol prohibition didn't work in the 20s, and marijuana prohibition isn't working today. It's time we stop arresting law-abiding citizens because they prefer marijuana over alcohol. Nearly 2,000 Americans are arrested every day on marijuana charges. We're unfairly destroying the lives and careers of hundreds of thousands of people each year simply because they smoke marijuana. These are not criminals. They're average citizens like you, good neighbors who work hard, raise families, pay taxes, and contribute to their communities. We need your help to end marijuana prohibition once and for all. It's the fair thing to do.
For more information, contact NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. Call toll-free 888-67-NORML or visit their website at norml.org.
420radio.org is proud to replay Professionals Against Prohibition with Jen Jackson from Raleigh, North Carolina. Meet today's most interesting activists in drug law reform and find out what creative means are being used to heighten public awareness of the need for drug law reform. Catch the replays Thursday at 10 Pacific on 420radio.org. In 1929, Pauline Sabin began the women's movement to end alcohol prohibition. 4 years later, the 21st Amendment was passed. Women are crucial to ending adult marijuana prohibition, and we celebrate women's marijuana activism in a segment we call Ladies of Legalization.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It's just about 32 after the hour. We're joined in studio by one of my best friends in marijuana activism. We got Lindsey Rinehart on the mic. How you doing, Lindsey?
Good, how are you?
I'm fantastic. You've escaped, just like me. We were just talking about how we've escaped from Idaho, and you've really escaped because now your year and a day is done.
My year and a day is done. I'm free to travel about the country.
I can get that close to you there.
Sorry.
You're good. You're good. So, the thing we've got to talk about. Oh, and before I go on, let's also just say hi, and we don't have to be on camera if you don't want to. But Teresa's here from Ohio. Hi, Teresa from Ohio.
How are you?
There you are. There you are on the microphone.
Hey, hey, hey.
Pookie's in the chat room and says hi.
Hello, Pookie.
All right. So one of the things we wanted to talk about today is the fact that we've got moratorium fever going on in Oregon.
Badly.
Moratorium fever. And what's happening, folks, is that we passed a bill in the legislature. Now, we tried in 2004 to pass an initiative for dispensaries, and it got voted down. We tried in 2010 to pass an initiative for dispensaries, and it got voted down. But in the intervening years, dispensaries started existing. I mean, they weren't called dispensaries, but, you know, people were going to buildings, and they had money on them when they walked in, and when they walked out, they had weed. I don't know what happened in the in-between, but that's what happened. And so the people kind of realized, look, it's going to happen anyway. Let's find a way to get this regulated. So the legislature put together Bill 3460 with a lot of help from activists, you know,
right.
Advocates
all over the state.
Yeah, we're a big part of crafting the bill. And in its original state, it basically upheld the right for there to be dispensaries and that a city couldn't ban them. Am I getting that right? That's pretty much right when it first came through.
When it first came out, there was no option to ban them.
Right. And then one of the sides of the legislature fought and said, no, we need to have...
The House bill was introduced, and then it got passed over to the Senate, and then they wanted to amend it. And so it went back and forth, and they were fine. It went through, and there was not this tight regulation, and there was nothing to ban. Then later on, Senate Bill 1531 was introduced, and that was the amendment to House Bill 3460 and where the problem really laid. They put in Senate Bill 1531, and it was to regulate time, place, and manner. And then they also used it to regulate edibles.
When, where, and how.
Right, and then they used it to regulate edibles and try to ban edibles, and so we had
which was the dumbest thing.
It was,
they're always bitching about smoking.
What they really right, and what they really wanted out of it was packaging. They didn't really want to ban edibles; they just wanted packaging out of it, and they wanted to have leeway with it. They wanted to have something to hold over our heads.
Yeah.
But with 1531, they said we want time, place, and manner. We want to be able to tell you where you can do this, when you can do it, and how you can do it. And we want to be able, and everybody said, okay, whatever, that's fine.
Right.
And then there was another part introduced saying, oh, well, we want a year to figure it out. And that's where the talk of the moratoriums came in, is saying, okay, well, you can't really ban a dispensary still under 3460. You cannot ban a dispensary. So cities like Medford that have said, oh, we're going to ban this dispensary no matter what state law says, they're in for court battles.
Okay.
And then that's actually going on today. Lee Berger is in Medford today dealing with Mary Jane's. But here we've got it where the dispensaries are under a moratorium until May 1st. And under that moratorium, the cities and the counties are supposed to figure out time, place, and manner.
That's 2015, May 1st, 2015? Or
Correct.
This? Okay. So
they
from
went
now,
from,
a year from now.
Right. So they have a year to figure it out. But the problem is they don't need a year to figure it out. Most of these places could figure it out in a month, if that. And 3460, the thing is if they would have read 3460, they would have found out that 3460 actually does outline time, place, and manner. Maybe not as strict as they'd like to see it, but it does have the regulation there, and it was very reasonable.
Wasn't that like, you can't be within 1,000 feet of a school, you can't be within 1,000 feet of each other.
Correct.
That kind of stuff. Which
zoning, they zoned them and said you have to be, in these zones. There were things that if you did not meet those requirements on your application, you were one of the people that got denied. And so, we were regulated, and we are regulated. And now there's 78 approved dispensaries, and a whole bunch of us are in limbo. We don't know what to do.
Sure.
So, we've got, in Clackamas County, we've got people operating under the old rules. We have people operating under 3460 and saying, what are you going to do about it? And then we have people like me that aren't operating.
Right. And we mentioned in the intro that you're a perf for a MMF. So tell people what that is.
It's a person responsible for a facility.
That's PRF, perf.
That's the perf. And then the MMF is the medical marijuana facility.
So you are a person responsible for a facility, and said facility is a medical marijuana facility, making
Correct.
you a perf for a MMF.
Yes.
Which I love this because I cover all these states, and every one of them has a different name for a place. In one place it's a dispensary, another place it's an alternative treatment center, another place it's a medical marijuana facility. It's like, okay, it's a building where you can get your weed. That's what it is, okay?
Bottom line, yeah.
Bottom line.
But
so we have this
not at ours because we are under a moratorium, and so it's really a crappy situation to be in because you feel like you're running full speed ahead, and you're going to open this dispensary, and you're going to get patients their medication, and it's going to be a great day, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh no, you're not.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
Well, yeah, these things all happened, time-wise on top of each other. It was like the law was passing that was going to allow dispensaries. The people were putting in their applications to get their licenses under this law that passed, and then all this moratorium stuff starts cropping.
Yeah, and to the point where if you fall under a moratorium in Oregon and you've got your application in, you can actually get a refund.
Yeah.
So you can get a refund if you are under a moratorium and you don't really want to deal with
wait
the
it out.
And there's some people that are going to do that, and there's some people that won't be doing that.
I just, I'm always struck by the this notion, and it's happening here with the moratorium, but it happens when, other states are trying to pass medical marijuana, and this idea of, well, we just need some time to figure it out. Let's not rush into this. We need some time to figure it out. Medical marijuana has been around since 1996, but gosh, we just don't know. We need some time to figure it out. Dispensaries have existed for 10 years, but gosh, gee.
The Clackamas County commissioners did not understand, supposedly, that there were dispensaries in operation in their county, and they were asking us where they were. And then they didn't understand that they are regulated. They didn't understand that they were legal under 3460, the ones that are licensed, that were actually legal there for a minute, to be fully, operational. And the county commissioner, the chair of the commission, Ludlow, looked at me and said, dispensaries have never been legal in Clackamas County, and they aren't now. And I'm like, are you serious right now? They are too. And he told me, well, I don't want to debate you about this. And I said, it's not a debate. I'm right and you're wrong. Like, it's not. It's really frustrating.
As the late Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan once said, you're entitled to your own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts.
Oh my gosh. So the district attorney gets up on one of the meetings on April 3rd and says, stoners are lazy. And that's not my opinion. That's a fact. And I'm like, nope, that's your opinion. And everybody in the crowd kind of rumbled. I've never seen anything like it here. They don't follow rules of decorum.
It is interesting, isn't it?
In the Clackamas County Commissioner's room, at least. I've never seen anything like it in my life. In Idaho, they would have stopped that meeting 10 minutes in. I mean, like, they don't follow decorum. So he says that, and the room rumbles, and we're like, yeah. And then he said another thing. He said it again. He said another really bigoted opinion and called it fact. And I spoke up and I'm like, no, that's your opinion. I think you need a dictionary. And it was like that the entire meeting. It kept going. It got, I think it might have gotten a little out of control, but it wasn't not it. But still, like it was almost needed because these people had not read 3460. We're having meetings on required reading. You're having a hearing on something. You're having a hearing on banning people's medication, and they had not read 3460. The lady asked if it had ever even gone through. And we're like, yeah, we're here because of it. Yeah. And then they're like, well, we're here only to talk about 1531. They had no understanding that 1531 was an amendment of 3460. Right. So we are here to talk about 3460. And it was so frustrating because they could not wrap their heads around it because they had not read it. And they're 38 pages long and 32 pages long, and they hadn't read it. Yeah. And they banned us. They banned the patients having safe access to their medication off of their opinion.
Yeah, that's the way it goes down in a lot of these localities. And understand, folks, we're not talking necessarily about like Podunk, Eastern Oregon, no population zones. This is Clackamas County, which is what we call the Tri-County area here around
There's 380,000 people in this county.
This is the Tri-County area of the Portland area. Multnomah County, which is, of course, the People's Republic of Multnomah County. I mean, you could probably open up a fruit stand and sell weed from that and you wouldn't get any hassle. I mean, the police are pretty accepting and tolerant here. And then you got south of us to one side and to the other, Washington County, where, they're worse than Clackamas County, probably.
I was approached at GMM by some Washington County activists that actually want to team up and are fighting back on the moratoriums. Yeah. And so now I've been approached by people around the state. Look, let's all work together on this. So if I was gonna make a comparison for my California friends,
Multnomah County is West Hollywood, and Washington County is Orange County, and Clackamas County is the Inland Empire. So if you know anything about California politics, that's kind of the way it works here in Oregon. We're talking about bedroom communities, tend to be suburban, white, middle class, working for Nike or Tektronix or Intel or one of those companies, and they tend to elect people that, well, like you said, don't even read what they're voting on.
Well, they aren't supposed to have a political stake in it as far as a party goes. They all have a political party they're affiliated with, but it's supposed to be a nonpartisan position. Mm-hmm. And then on the website, there's like Tootie Smith, and she's on there saying, I'm the most conservative woman that's ever sat on this panel, And she went up there and insisted we were discussing full legalization. And we're like, no, we're not. Like, this is, we're actually not here to discuss.
Innovate.
Yeah, and they would not listen to us. So there's a meeting tonight, and we're hoping that maybe they'll listen to us tonight.
Now, speaking of Podunk, Oregon, Speed Limit in our chat room says people in Podunk, Oregon deserve safe access too.
Absolutely. We've got another dispensary in Ontario, Oregon, in Podunk, Oregon. That's banned too. And yes, you do need safe access in Podunk, Oregon. And, just because I'm working on the language here doesn't mean that we won't share it.
Right.
We're working on having a meeting very, very soon where stakeholders and other activists are going to come together, and we're going to work on approaching these people and trying to find common ground where we can sit down. Like, there's a meeting tonight in Clackamas County. It's the round table meeting with the Clackamas County commissioners. Okay. And it's a place where you can go, like, it's a more laid back setting where you can kind of go talk to them. So we're going to talk to them and see if we can form some kind of committee to overcome this moratorium by doing time, place, and manner. Let's figure it out and move on, So let's figure out time, place, and manner, institute it, and let's go. We don't need to make this take a year. We can get this done right now. There's already people like Central Point that have overcome it. They overcame it in a month. They already have it up on their website. The dispensaries are open. So there's no reason that we can't get this done here. And so we want to go talk to them. Now, if they don't want to listen, we do have language being prepared to run initiatives around the state, and we will. And so they have to go county by city or county and city or however you've been banned or have your moratorium, and we will have language soon, and we will be sharing. This is not something that, the Oregon counties and associations, or the Oregon cities and counties, the associations of those things, they really activated the entire state. There's dispensary owners that are mad. There's patients that are mad. There are people all over that are just livid. There are people getting ready to run for Clackamas County Commissioner now because of this.
Good.
We all need to do those things. Look at your city council. See who's up for election and take their seat. Look and see who's up for your county commissioner. Take their seat. We don't have to sit there and not be represented. We all need to become more active.
Well put. Amen. Absolutely. And last question on this issue. Of course, these moratoriums are extended to May of 2015. Is there the possibility when that time comes around that they try and do another moratorium to 2016 or 2017?
3460 only allows for this year.
Okay.
And so past that, we would be looking at anything that came from full legalization, like whatever bogey might come out the side of that.
So really, there's really no benefit for these localities to be waiting as long as May 2015.
No, absolutely
unless
not.
they just want to see the last second thing get enacted rather than doing something thoughtful.
Well, there's cities like Medford that have said, even past 2015, we are banning you. We don't care about your state law. We're doing it anyway. And there's people like Mary Jane Zadek in Medford that are fighting that, Thank goodness, and there's people in Phoenix that are fighting that too. And so, with any luck, we will overcome that because they're going to get sued.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. You can't take away safe access from these patients, and if we have to follow the law, so do they.
Right on. Lindsey Rinehart, you're awesome, and just in the short time you've been involved in activism, making some really big strides. I'm so proud of you. You're doing great. And if people want to help you out, maybe share this language or send you guys donations or whatever they can do, how can they get in touch with you?
My Facebook, please find me on Facebook. I'm holding a sign that says, "What if I banned Walgreens?" If you could please find me on Facebook.
Interesting trivia. Walgreens became a major pharmaceutical company because they were one of the few that had the government permission to write medical alcohol prescriptions during Prohibition.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's very interesting.
What if we did? Indeed, what if we banned Walgreens?
Yeah, what if we banned Walgreens? So if you want to hit me up on Facebook, that's definitely the best way to get a hold of me, and then I can give you my email and my phone number from there.
That's awesome. Lindsey Rinehart, and of course Undergreen Railroad as well. Look up Undergreen Railroad, help them out. We're trying to move people that are in desperate need of medical marijuana from their restrictive prohibition state to a green state.
There's moves happening right now. If you can help a family get out of oppression and into medication, please go to our website and our Facebook page. It's www.undergreenrailroad.org, and please help somebody that needs you.
Right on. We're back with the rant after this.
You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
New Approach Oregon is a coalition of Oregon citizens who believe that treating marijuana use as a crime has failed, costing taxpayers millions in law enforcement resources. We believe it's time for a new approach on marijuana, and that Oregonians deserve a chance to decide in the 2014 general election. Our approach will regulate, tax, and legalize marijuana for adults in Oregon. By implementing a strict system to regulate, tax, and legalize marijuana, we can move Oregon forward and create new revenue for critical services. Under our approach for 2014, 40% of funds would support K-12 education, 20% would support mental health and treatment services, and 15% would be dedicated to law enforcement. Public opinion, coupled with victories in Washington and Colorado, confirms marijuana legalization is inevitable. Visit our website at newapproachoregon.com or our page on Facebook at New Approach Oregon. Thank you. 420 Radio is 24-hour marijuana.
I have to say that there was one question that was voted on that ranked fairly high, and that was whether legalizing marijuana would improve the economy and job creation. I don't know what this says about the online audience, but the answer is no. I don't think that is a good strategy to grow our economy. So.
About nearly 1 million lives wrecked by a marijuana arrest every year, Mr. President. Politely tell President Obama what you think about legalization by calling the White House at 202-456-1111.
You want answers? I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore. You want answers?
You have offended my family.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth.
And you have offended the Shaolin Temple.
You can't handle the truth.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Radical Rant.
The THC that gets you high is medical marijuana. We're going to talk a little bit about this today. It took 4 years to get 8 medical marijuana states. There were 7 voter initiatives in 96, California, 98, Oregon, Washington, Alaska, 99, Maine, 2000, Colorado and Nevada, plus the Hawaii legislature in 2000 that brought us 8 states where sick and disabled people became protected from criminal prosecution for their medical use of whole plant cannabis. It's taken only 2 months to get 8 cannabidiol states. 2 months to get 8 CBD-only states. Dr. Sanjay Gupta's weed documentary on August 11th, 2013 exposed the nation to the miraculous power of CBD to nearly cure childhood epilepsy. 7 months, 10 days, and thousands of sick kids' parents' Facebook posts later, on March 21st, 2014, the governor of Utah, of all the unlikely places, signed the first law in the nation to protect children sick with epilepsy from criminal prosecution for their medical use of one cannabis constituent, cannabidiol. So, why such a snail's pace to legalize whole plant medical marijuana, usually requiring either a citizen ballot initiative or, lately, compromises at the legislature that have left us since 2010 with no home grow, restrictive condition lists, and now bans on smoking medical marijuana coming out of Minnesota? And why such a cheetah's pace to legalize cannabidiol, requiring no citizen initiatives and speeding through conservative southern legislatures, often unanimously? Well, folks, because medical marijuana gets you high. It's the first soundbite uttered by any sponsor of a CBD-only bill. We're not talking about medical marijuana. This is an extract of cannabis that doesn't get you high. I've reported at least one legislator and many supporters saying something similar as CBD-only bills have passed in Utah, Kentucky, Alabama, Wisconsin, Mississippi, Iowa, Missouri, and Florida just since March. Recently, the Florida CBD bill was amended from just allowing epileptics to use it to allowing people with most seizure and spasticity disorders to use it and people with cancer. Well, that's a nice gesture that might help some more patients, but most of the multiple sclerosis patients I know need the THC in whole plant cannabis to moderate the neuropathic pain. And worse, the bill's sponsor, Representative Matt Gaetz, knows that THC is medicinal and acknowledged that cancer patients facing extreme nausea from chemotherapy won't benefit from CBD-only oil. As he explained, quote, "We have to understand the very difficult challenge of creating a unique Florida medical marijuana paradigm," end quote, so that his state doesn't turn into another California or Colorado. What a tragic absurdity. Florida legislators are so afraid of the high from THC, they'll expand their CBD-only bill to cover things that only THC or THC plus CBD would help. Well, gosh, you might as well throw in heebie-jeebies, girl cooties, rockin' pneumonia, and the boogie-woogie flu. I mean, it's not going to help them as much. Well, see, years ago, as medical marijuana was beginning, advocates fought the high from marijuana from the start. It's not about getting high, they'd explain. It's about saving lives. They'd inadvertently demonize the high from THC with slogans like, "We're patients, not criminals," and "Health before happy hour." And some medical marijuana patients, even to this day, will tell me when they use medical marijuana, they don't get high. Sure they don't. Now, I understand all about tolerance, and I know that a patient consuming cannabis all day for years will not be reduced to a giggling mass of munchies like a frat boy on his first joint. But I also know that patients don't have some sort of special brain that doesn't have endocannabinoid receptors. And I also know that healthy people who consume cannabis all day for years can build up the same tolerance. THC affects brains and causes a high. Whether you're sick, whether you're healthy, or whether you have a tolerance that requires you to use more of it. So, it is now time for medical marijuana advocates to stop demonizing the high and those who use cannabis for that sole purpose. It's not as if other legit medications don't cause a high. From the opioids and benzodiazepines and selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors you get at the pharmacy for your pain and depression, to the dextromethorphan, pseudoephedrine, and antihistamine you can get at the grocery for your cold and flu symptoms. There was never a reason to run from the high in the first place when we're defending medical marijuana usage, because medical pill usage usually gets you higher. Framed correctly, the high from THC can be seen as harm reduction from the zombification that occurs from medications that cannabis can replace. How hard is it to say, gee, a cancer patient who's been puking for an hour, an AIDS patient so malnourished he looks like an Auschwitz survivor, and a multiple sclerosis patient racked by hours of hot needling pain might get a little high? And you think that's a bad side effect? Of course, that doesn't fit well on a t-shirt like, "We're patients, not criminals." If you want medical THC, and you want it in whole plant form, at this point you're going to have to fight for legalization. State legislatures are just going to keep passing CBD-only bills or severely restricted medical marijuana bills in order to combat the people seeking a high. With much of the public, the politicians will have provided themselves political cover on the medical marijuana issue, like Pennsylvania Governor Tom Corbett, who just got headlines for changing his mind on medical marijuana when he really did no such thing. The few remaining states that have ballot initiative power that haven't passed medical marijuana yet, well, they're strongly conservative states, and they'll probably balk at whole plant medical marijuana initiatives. See South Dakota, 2006 and 2010. And some will never consider medical marijuana legislation. See Idaho's Senate declaring marijuana shall always be illegal for any purpose. Florida's Question 2 this November will likely be the last reasonably inclusive medical marijuana initiative we see, and even it forbids home growing. So join us all in fighting for marijuana legalization. Or else, be prepared to see "We're patients, not criminals" replaced by "It's CBD, it doesn't get you high," and then replaced by "Ask your doctor about GW Pharmaceuticals' new prescription cannabinoid medicine." All right, folks, that's all the time we got for Hour 1, but we'll take your calls in Hour 2. Toker Talk Radio is next. Call in at 971-533-7111. For everyone here at Rolla J Studios in beautiful Portland, Oregon, I'm Radical Russ, and until next time, take care of each other, Tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.